Okay, now we are going to see a small additional utility, dialog, or we popularly call them as alert dialogs. Because whenever we see an option here, if you look at it as delete, it abruptly immediately delete it. So it is very difficult if an item gets deleted in the database or any preference manager. Retrieving it is very difficult. Of course, it's not possible at all. At least we should give a warning to a user and stating that do you really want to delete. If the user prefer to choose yes, then you can go for a delete. So extra layer of protection you can give. So I'm planning to add alert dialog in that place. So I'm going to pop up if the user select uh, delete, and it will pop up saying that do you really want to delete. If the user select yes, it will be deleted. If the user want to go cancel or want to cancel, so you can simply cancel, keep the item there. So I find adding a pop-up after selecting delete would be appropriate. And I also have a couple of other hacks. One, this option menu, by clicking this menu you are getting an this is also looking like a pop-up, but this option menu can also be programmatically called. Instead of having a small menu like a button, or it looks like a button for me in the action bar, you can programmatically also call it. For example, uh, I have on-click listener which is displaying item description. Instead I want to change it because I want to show. I'm going to comment this block. Open options menu. If you call this method, instead of clicking the menu button, it appears programmatically. So I can attach to any button or anything else. So in order to pop up an option menu programmatically instead of depending on this particular menu. You may have noticed some of apps keeps menus bottom. They want to keep the menu bottom instead of in the action bar. If you want that feature, you can programmatically design some other layout and keep a button which will look like a menu. For example, uh, the idea came after seeing this app. If you notice, it looks like the action bar is on the bottom. This default messaging app. Typically, you want to replicate the same mean. Of course, see it's just an image, which keeps the programmatically calls option menu by click of a button or anything else. So you can programmatically control the option menu, of course, the context menu as well. So that's for one hack. Another one, I'm going to go back. Another one, we've been doing a roundabout way in order to fetch a string from a XML file, strings. So get resources, get string, and then give an ID. You can also give a ID directly. So not this will only work for widgets. Sorry. Otherwise, you can skip directly. You can get access. Get resources, get string. So you can skip the get resources also. You don't need to give a get resource as a prefix. Directly call get string and give an ID of it, because the get resource instance is already available in activity. Second, if you are using for a widget, widgets mean for me is for text view, buttons, list view, and all the so those those kind of components, we call them widgets. That can have a string directly, a string ID directly called in the setX or setX or whatever. For example, text view has editX has a setX attribute to be set. So for example, here we have a setX. I can directly refer the ID of a string instead of having get string, get resource, and then go on. So this hack also work. So it will also fetch from a value from the string file. So it comes slightly handy. We don't need to write the bunch of codes. Of course, I've been finding these kind of hacks. That's what I said in the very beginning of the classroom. So what we are doing is a knowledge transformation. Sometime I may give an input, sometime I will get an input from you. Now that trend has started. So I've got an input from one of your colleague only. So that shows clear involvement. I appreciate that. For Selva gave me. Okay, so fine. Now let us get into alert dialog. Alert dialog slightly may look like a complex one, but pretty simple once you get used to it. The whole Android itself is like that. I'm going to write a separate method for it so that we'll see it very clearly. So let me put in the middle so that let me write a private void display alert dialog method I have written. There is a class called builder which is available as a subclass of our alert dialog. I need to initialize it. Builder gets a blueprint of an alert dialog. For example, view. First I need to prepare a view. Of course, I was telling if you want to add another layout on the top of existing layer, it is primarily called as a layout inflator. That's what we were discussing quite before. If you do not want a layout separately created in the XML, you can create the similar look and feel in program itself. So in even in context, I think the option menu we invoke a design from an XML file. We use an inflator. Whereas context menu we programmatically create them. So it's up to you to choose which one is better for you. So the one I am doing right now is similar strategy, but I am not going to use XML. Of course you can use it when a complex pop-up you need to put, but as of now my pop-up is going to be very simple. It's going to contain a message, yes or no button, maybe okay, cancel button, or whatever it is. Builder is a blueprint for your view, and then finally we'll get attached to a dialog. So first I am calling the instance of the builder object. So I create an object called builder that is available as a subclass of alert dialog. So that's the reason alert dialog dot builder. I am initializing as usual like a standard Java object, setting a title for it. Some title. Setting a message. Something I was talking about. And then set a positive button. Assume the user want to go ahead. Say OK, or I'll put delete. I'll attach listen a little later. Set a negative button saying that cancel. So user do not want to delete in this case. Okay. So I created a blueprint for my dialog. So what's the title for a dialog? What kind of message I want to display? What is the positive button mean? User giving an affirmative reaction stating that let's go ahead, fine. Or if the user want to cancel it, that's for a negative purpose. I need a listener to be attached because the button, it's nothing but a button. A usual listener we already know, but we haven't used it, but we have seen that also imported in a wrong place that I'm going to implement. But before, I'm declaring an alert dialog object now from the builder I created. And finally display the dialog. So the blueprint is now mapped to a alert dialog object, and then the dialog goes for display. Let me add a listeners. Dialog interface on click listener. We have seen this event listener implementing quite long back. So for better clarity, I'll put a dialog interface prefix here itself. Not to be confused with one more event listener, on click listener we attach with the button. It is a different on click listener. That's why I kept it a prefix also. And the same thing here. It means if the user proceed to go ahead OK, mean you have to take a step for deleting the item. Here just leave it as it is, you don't do anything, simply get cancelled. So let me call this method where I want to call, where's the context menu? Yeah, here. Instead of directly deleting it, first I'm going to display a dialog. Just commented the previous one so it won't get deleted. So let's see how the dialog displays, how it works. Long pressing. If you see it, I press delete and suddenly a pop-up right now appears instead of directly deleting it. This is the title, slightly bluish, and that's a message, and this is a negative button, cancel. This is a positive button. So negative will simply cancel the dialog. Positive, I need to take a step to delete it. So let me add a couple of contents because this will get deleted. So I'm going to give a delete option. Clicking delete will invoke a pop-up saying that you want to delete the entry. You can even put it deleting it. There won't be any possibility to recover on all blah blah. You can write it so the user understands the seriousness. If we try to cancel it, no item will be deleted. But I need to move this code. I need to keep it here. I'm going to have a trouble over here, but still this kind of info, the position I need. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call a integer naturally this would call this class, so it should be shopping list activity dot this. Otherwise you can use a get base context, because this refers right now dialog interface on click listener because it is inside a different class. So it is mistakenly assuming, I need to correct this as well, and I need a position. I'm still showing an error, so okay, the position is not going to be modified in inside this block, so I can make it as a final one because it expects a constant. The final is safely could be given because the position is just a parameter. You cannot, for example, if your code changes the value of a position stating that like this is not possible because the final should not be changed. So that's the reason the final is there. Of course, I'm not going to change it. That's the reason I can safely keep a final here, because this guy requires a position as a final for obvious reason, because this block is within a different class. So any change by a previous class would be a problem for this particular class. So that's the reason it is expecting a final one, which is an unmodified one. So I'm not going to modify anyway, so I can safely call it. So position, need to modify slightly. So now the position has gone inside. So if the user choose to delete it, it will be deleted, and this will leave it. I just give a, for example, you want to have a toast or anything, you can put it here. Clear the imports. So now deleting will give me an alert. Cancel won't do anything. Now I'm going to press delete. The item disappear. It's just extra level of protection if you creating a database specific application, because if the user try to delete something mistakenly, because it's a smartphone, if you keep it in a purse or packet or anywhere, chances are there you may press the item. So in order to avoid this kind of thing, we can put additional dialogues to give an extra layer of protection. I mean, for this purpose I have used it, but it is not the only purpose you should use the dialogues. You can use wherever necessary. Some people even put the validations and saying that only strings are allowed, so they'll pop up instead of putting a toast. So if you want to replace the toast with pop-up, you can do it. And various ways to create a dialog, but this is one of the easiest and effective way. Of course, for example, in the dialog, I've used a builder class in order to define the UI. Standard one is being a title, message, positive, negative buttons. But sometime in the message section, you want to display an image, or you want to put a form element like edit text or anything else, like a login button. So it comes in a pop-up. So where the user type the login and press OK. So you may have to modify the message part. That time you can use the layout infolator to do the job. So you can create a design in the XML and call it here and display the pop. I'll slightly move away from here, but as of now, we have just seen an introduction about how a alert dialog works. First one, you need to initialize the builder class. You need to have an object of a builder duly initialized in this way, and define the blueprint such as title, message, positive, negative buttons. Positive button mean an affirmative reaction. What the user saying, let us go ahead. So positive button, and this is a blueprint. You cannot don't try to have a left and right way things are modified. I want to keep the left delete button here. For example, some people say I want to keep a delete here, cancel here. It's up to you. Treat a negative button as a positive one and positive button as a negative one according to your choice, because it's builder blueprint. You cannot modify that. If you really want to have everything modified, you can use a custom XML file and create a dialog. That is entirely different one. But I've used a minimalistic way of creating a dialog. So title, message, positive and negative buttons. Once it is done, builder is ready, and use the builder.create and pass the value to alert dialog object finally and call show. It will display. So a simple alert dialog has been created. Hereafter, we are going to see a lot of builder classes because Android uses this methodology in order to create various, notification, view as well. For example, notification is one of an interesting part in Android. For example, if a message comes, you may see something appearing here, a message icon and some snippet of your text. Everything will be rolling here, so I can even reproduce that. So I'm going to send a message using hardware emulation. So emulator control, I'm going to send a message. If you notice an icon, of course the text also would have come. I should have composed a longer one. It will roll on. This kind of a UI or something displaying on this particular notification bar is called notification. Notification also use a builder class. That time the notification manager dot builder will come. In this case, it's alert dialog dot builder. That time it's a notification manager. Notification manager, of course, is a manager class which contains helper functions in order to create a notification. So this kind of a strategy, creating a UI and attach it to a final object and get the view accordingly. So this kind of strategy we are going to use it quite often, and alert dialogues can be used for various purposes. In this case, I have used it for an extra layer of protection for my data. So a user, if any chance he tried to hit delete, so you will be given one more additional layer of question saying that you really want to delete. The user say okay, then he can delete the item. So we just move the particular content from there to here. And other hack, I am out again reminding it. Better, since I have hard coded, I'm going to move everything to a string. Okay, and put everything to a strings.xml. So let me go back and remove the hard-coded strings. If set title integer title ID is available, mean of course I can use r string alert title. I'm not putting any get resources, get alert, sorry, get string, but of course that will also work. Cancel, alert, cancel. So I've directly coded them, so let me run the code. Not sure, but I hope it has been updated. Pressing delete, it gives me an alert. So I can go ahead and delete it and item disappears. So what we have seen right now, programmatically calling an option menu, one, and second, string dot r dot string dot xml id, whatever, we can directly call it if a setx or whatever widget has a integer input also taking it. And also we understood how to use a builder class and how to have the positive and negative buttons and title messages and all the stuff in order to create a blueprint for your dialog. So finally the alert dialog object get use of the builder instance and with the create option, and finally we display it. So alert dialog, something we can make use of it quite often wherever I want to get an attention of a user. Typically uh, an alert dialog can be created using builder, and of course you can have a view created like this in runtime. Otherwise you can call an XML, have a different view created for example with the image, with the edit text, with login form, with the pop-up, everything you can customize. I will cover that in the tomorrow session. So make sure you guys practice up to this point uh, with alert dialog and the complete uh, shopping list version 2.1, which has all the options added right now in order to add and retrieve the data from the storage. For a storage mechanism, we have used a preference manager, and of course we have a JSON conversion. Of course, we have used a JSON in order to save the content in preference manager, because the limitation of a preference manager can only hold string, integers, I mean number types and boolean values. It cannot save a fully uh, I mean functioning an array list of hash map or anything. Of course it cannot save an array list inside, whereas our simple adapter needs an array list of hash map in order to display the data. So we have a conversion mechanism also put in place. So preference manager saves the JSON formatted string, and when it is saved and when it is retrieved, it reconverts. I mean, of course, a class we have written utility.java reconverts the string coming from a preference manager into a array list of hash map, and vice versa. So everything is there in this code. Take your time and make sure you guys finish it as soon as possible. Those who have an additional session tomorrow, who do not have a session tomorrow, probably I cannot cover in the morning session because one batch is going for other session. So any available time is there, make sure you guys complete the practice. Okay, let me upload the code before let me save it.